What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Origins with me, TheOneIntegral, and today we are covering the Exeggcute evolution line, i.e. Exeggcute and Exeggutor, including the new Alola Exeggutor form which we covered at the end of the video. But, without further ado, let's just jump into the video. So, Exeggcute is number 102 in the National Pokédex, and its Japanese name is Tamatama. It is the egg Pokemon and a grass psychic type. It stands at 0.4 meters or 1 foot 4 inches, as you can see in this diagram, and weighs 2.5 kilograms or 5.5 pounds. Taking a quick look at the models for Exeggcute, you can just see its shiny form is basically golden eggs, nothing too special there. The yolk of the egg doesn't change at all, it's the same yellow colour, the eggs just turn golden basically. Evolution wise, as I mentioned, Exeggutor is Exeggute's evolution, and it evolves upon using a leaf stone upon it, so it's a very simple evolution there. So Exeggcute, as you can tell, is a collection of eggs basically, and there's generally 6 eggs that are always there, and they're light pink in colour, and they have faces on them. Each of them actually has a slightly different facial expression. You can see the one in Sugimori art, you can see the one that's smirking, you have one that's sort of looking angry, one that's like, what's going on, sort of slightly different, but nothing too crazy, but generally each face is similar, i.e. triangle shaped eyes, and then a small mouth down at the front. Each egg is also cracked in different ways, so obviously you can see the egg at the front on the right is cracked down by their right eye, and then there's basically just different cracks over its body. And there's usually always an egg that has its yolk exposed, that's been cracked completely, as you can see in the Sugimori art and also in the models. Just an egg there that's just got completely lost the top of its head, but it's still an egg, it's still got a face on it, you just can't see it in the Sugimori art. So that's Exeggcute there really. Pokédex entries do tell us a bit about it. It's actually like the seeds of a plant rather than eggs, but they are often mistaken for eggs, probably why they were given the name Exeggcute, but they're actually more sort of similar to seeds rather than eggs. They communicate with each other using telepathy that only they can hear, and this helps them stay together. So if one egg accidentally gets separated, they can call to each other, telepathize to each other, it's not a word, but whatever, to quickly regroup. The more cracks on an Exeggute's head or face or whatever means it's actually closer to evolution, so I guess it just means it might be a way of measuring how old the Exeggcute is possibly, because of course we know it evolves with a leaf stone, so it doesn't really work that way, but it might just show age. But nonetheless, even if it's cracked, the shell is actually quite durable, and even if it cracks open, like you can see the egg that has its yolk exposed, or whatever, yolk or brain, whatever you want to call it, it manages to stay in there. It's not like it's completely unusable or dead, basically, when its head cracks open. So they're quite durable, apparently. So that's that there. Obviously, they're based on a mixture of both seeds and eggs. Seeds coming from sort of the grass linking, as well as obviously the Pokédex entries telling us they're based off of seeds, and obviously eggs because they look a lot like eggs. And the particular idea of the fact that having like a grass type that is an egg may have come from the egg yolk tomato. Obviously, tomatoes are plants, so that relates to the grass typing, and you can see here it's called the egg yolk tomato because it looks like an egg yolk basically. So it's not a big step from there to thinking, aha, let's make seeds or plants that look like eggs. It could also be a visual pun of eggplants, obviously egg plant linking exactly in to Exeggcute, which is a grass type, i.e. a plant that looks like an egg. So that's that. The naming for Exeggcute, the Japanese name first is Tamatama, which is derived from Tama, which means sphere, but it also incorporates Tamago, which is Japanese for egg. So egg and sphere, obviously related words together anyway, but further on that's sort of where it comes from there. The English name Exeggcute is obviously a combination of egg and cute, you can see that towards the end of the name, but it's possibly styled to sound like Exeggcute. I don't know why this would be the case, because Exeggcute does not really relate to Exeggute's sort of naming at all, but they might have thought, right, we want to combine egg and cute, Exeggcute, and then sort of linked it in there. It also could be a stylized form of saying Exeggcute, eggs are cute, Exeggcute, sort of similar sort of thing. That's what I think at least. But that's that. So if we move on to Exeggute's evolution, we have Exeggutor. Its Japanese name is actually Nasi, which is a bit weird, but we'll see that later on, and it is the coconut Pokemon, still being a grass psychic type. Now stands at 2 meters or 6 foot 7 inches and weighs 120 kilograms or 264.6 pounds, and as you can see in the diagram, it's a pretty big Pokemon, towering over both me and Ash, so it's pretty big, but obviously we've got Alola Exeggutor to come too. Looking at the models from Generation 6, you can see obviously Exeggutor's shiny form is golden in its body colour, but its leaves now, instead of being green, are like a pale auburn colour, which looks pretty cool. It's like an autumn version of Exeggutor almost. So, Exeggutor is a tree-like Pokemon basically. It looks a lot like a tree because its body and legs resemble a trunk, and then obviously its heads are sort of coconuts, hence the coconut Pokemon, and it has these palm-like leaves coming off the top of its head. Funnily enough, it actually doesn't have any arms, so unlike Trevenant, another tree-like Pokemon, has no arms, so it's just walking around with its legs. Its heads are actually variable. There's no, you can see basically it's always the same in the games, I believe. In the art and the games, it's always the same. But in the anime, Exeggutor has been seen to have 5 heads. Whether this is canon or not, apparently it can have up to 5 heads. You would assume if it's in the anime. But we can see, so maybe the heads do drop off every now and again, and these heads do have similar faces to Exeggcute, so it's like the heads have grown up, except instead of being pink, they are now sort of a pale yellow colour, similar, or more similar to coconuts. Pokédex entries tell us that actually Exeggutor's cries are very noisy, but this is because each head on its body thinks independently, so even though they're all one Pokemon, each head has its own thoughts and feelings, I suppose, but they are friendly with each other, they don't squabble, so they're actually quite, they don't fight at all. It's not like Dodrio's heads, for example. And also, if a head drops off, so hence why we can have possibly 3 to 5 heads, the head can actually continue as an Exeggcute, and it does so by sending out a telepathic call, and any other Exeggcutes in the area that maybe have only got 5 eggs in them can pick this head up, and we assume it changes from yellow to pink again. Who knows? Who knows? It's also known as the walking jungle in some areas of the Pokemon world because, of course, it's walking around, it's like a tree, and looks like a jungle, I suppose. And, of course, is originally from the tropics, which, of course, we'll talk about when we look at the Alolan Exeggutor. So why might it be based on? Well, obviously it's a coconut Pokemon, it's got coconut heads, it's probably based on a coconut tree, but it could also link in to the Japanese monster, or folklore monster, named Jinmenju, which is basically a tree that grew human heads on it. And it's pretty creepy, the story, but basically that's where it comes from. I believe Game Theory has a video exploring Exeggutor's origins a bit more, so definitely go and check that out if you're interested about learning about Jinmenju and other sort of, it's not just Japan, there were tales of this monster around, so it's all sort of coming from there, and it links in with the fact that the heads don't squabble because the heads on the Jinmenju were always smiling and stuff like that. So yes, that's Exeggutor for you. Taking a quick look at the name before we move on to Alolan Exeggutor, the Japanese name Nasi is a combination of Kokonatsu, so taking the nats from there, which means coconuts obviously, and Yashi, which is Japanese for palm tree, so basically coconut tree. It's pretty much where it comes from. The English name Exeggutor again incorporates egg, and again I guess incorporates Exeggutor, similar to Exeggcute. Again, it's not really in relation to the Pokemon itself, it's possibly just how they thought it sounded. Sounded good, of course. But if we then move on to look at the Alolan form of Exeggutor, it's pretty different. Or it's not pretty different, it's similar, but it's different at the same time. It is now a grass dragon type, which is quite interesting, and it is now 10.9 meters or 35 feet and 9 inches tall, and weighs 415.6 kilograms or 916.2 pounds. So it's gotten a lot taller and a lot heavier. Looking at the diagram, you can see just how tall it is. I didn't expect it to be this tall, but it's pretty damn tall. 35 feet is basically gotten 6 times as tall, and that is very tall indeed. You can see me and Ash are just little specks next to it, so it's a very tall Pokemon. We don't quite know what a shiny form is going to look like, but I imagine it look very similar to normal Exeggutor's shiny form, with golden body and red leaf hair sort of thing there. Similarly, we don't know how it's going to evolve, but we can assume it's going a similar way via Leafstone, just in the Alola region. So how does it differ to normal Exeggutor? Well, obviously it's very similar, but it has a much longer neck, as well as a small tail, with another Exeggcute head on the bottom here. You can see that Exeggcute head is actually green, as opposed to the pink ones from Exeggcute and the yellow ones on Exeggutor, so it might just be, sort of proximity to the ground, who knows. But it's pretty cool, so it's got an extra tail and an extra long neck, basically. So maybe this is where, one of the extra heads that fell off came, who knows. We're told about Alolan Exeggutor that the hotter suns of Alola have caused this, this extra growth of its neck to be very tall, and it's actually boasted by the people of Alola that it's actually Exeggutor's true form. So whether, linking it with the Pokédex entry that it originally came from the tropics, whether Exeggutor originally, came from the Alola region and was shipped out and then couldn't grow as much, we don't know, but it's indicated, it would seem. The long neck that Exeggutor has can also be an asset and a weakness. Obviously it can be used for attacking and swinging its head around, but it makes it very vulnerable at the lower levels. But the head on its tail is actually independent, and it has independent control of the tail, which means it can swing itself around basically and manage any attacks that do come at the lower section of Exeggutor's body. Where does the inspiration for Alolan Exeggutor come from? Well, obviously like normal Exeggutor, a coconut tree, even more so the long neck, as well as the Jinmenju. But the idea for having a long neck might have come from original artwork that showed Exeggutor having this extra long neck. When they were planning Alola forms, they might have thought, wow, this is how Exeggutor used to look, why don't we implement this? So there's a possibility there. But that is Alolan Exeggutor for you, and that is that evolution line. So let me know what you think about the Alolan form of Exeggutor down below, guys, and let me know what other Pokemon you'd like to see covered in future episodes of Pokemon Origins. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button. But for now, this is going to be it for me for today. I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my brilliance.